What's up everyone, just putting this video together to help show what's underused and doesn't see play, along with ways to make them more relevant in Ninjala. If I miss anything, please comment down below. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and start off with Gum Searcher. Gum Searcher is really in a bad spot. It's been in a bad spot ever since the game really launched. It's in a little better spot just because it now homes in on people, but the problem lies with it not actually doing gum damage. Now, I've seen some people say, oh, it should just do gum damage on the initial hit. That could be a viable option, especially paired with things like Mellow. But ultimately, if you're running it with things like Asakusa, you're not really going to get any value out of it still if it only has gum damage on this first initial hit. Unless it like one hit binds when it's a big when it's from a big gum. Now, another problem or another solution people came up with is that when you shoot it, it'll do ticking kind of gum damage. Now the problem is, or I guess the idea is like similar to potent poison, is it's going to tick down gum damage, not having a hitbox, right? But just kind of draining it and maybe like starting to slow you down, right? And this would actually be pretty significant, right? It has a lot more uses. My only concern is that it would be too strong, right? If you stack two of them, are they going to stack? And how that interaction works might be something to consider. Now, some people also think that there should be a little synergy of both, right? So it should have initial gum damage on the beginning hit and gum damage sustained around, right? The only problem with this is, again, that if this area is stacked, right? If everyone's running Asakusa Wheel and we just stack this up, are you getting free binds over a drone, right? So if we all stack our thing, our little searcher, right? Can we all just get free binds while we're taking this drone and then proceed to take the person for a free epone, right? That doesn't seem like it's gonna be fun at all, right? A lot of people said that, so I don't think that is the solution. But I wanted to just make the suggestions here in case you do want to consider that. Next, we have Gum Ghost. Gum Ghost is very rarely used, and I think the problem mainly lies with its either travel speed or its distance traveled, right? The difference between a Gum Ghost and Gum Launcher is that I would be able to hit someone all the way here with Gum Launcher, whereas Gum Ghost, a medium Gum Ghost, barely even makes it, right? So Gum Ghost's issue is that it actually doesn't either travel fast enough or go far enough, right? So I think the main solution here would be either to kind of make it go faster, make it travel further, and having it blockable is great. That was a good kind of addition. But also, like, if it is blocked, then it's not really adding much, right? It doesn't add a lot of shield pressure, like as much as like Kunai or Balloons would. And so ultimately, if they're gum guarding and I follow it up, they probably could mash jump and instead just get hit by the break attack. And the same thing really goes for the big ghost as well. If I charge it up and I shoot it all the way from over here, it's not really going to even reach. And in that sense, it's really lackluster just because every other gum shoot pretty much outclasses it, right? You want instant shield pressure from far away, you shoot a gum launcher and they're pressured, right? What am I really going to do? Of course, it does take S energy, but if they're going to expect it, they can just shield it, right? And it's not really as effective. Alright, so although recently buffed, Gum Kunai kind of sit in a weird position with their priority. I think the buffs to cooldown have been really good, but the kind of buff to, it's kind of lacking priority still, and for being kind of like a sharp object, they just get kind of blown back by every other gum shot. Even balloons, which is pretty surprising to me. I think if anything, you could make it so speed takes priority, right? Whichever gum shoot is traveling faster. I think that would be a kind of cool concept to make it so how how the gum shots interact or how to kind of buff this, right? Maybe if I set this up and they're not moving, then they can get blown away. But if they're moving, they're going to pierce other gum shots. I think that would be a pretty cool interaction, something that might adjust game balance to kind of feel a little more relative, and like, I guess around Kunai it'll feel a little stronger, just because that setup time, it does have that setup time for the gum Kunai, which is really like a negative factor. Obviously instant Kunai would be way too strong, so I do think that setup factor is important. But I think if you're able to tweak like when they get shot out, and then if they're already moving, maybe they pierce other gum shoots, that'd be a pretty good way to balance these. So I've also heard skateboard class weapons have always kind of had issues with their hitboxes, and I think part of it might be because just the spacing on how, when you're tracking someone, they're tracking, it hits very early, right? Like, look at the space that we end in between. And so if there's lag, any sort of lag, the initiation of this attack starts out really far, right? And I think that's going to be like the reason why most of like the normal string, at least, maybe even the wide string, have trouble hitting players. The wide one is mainly because it comes out late, it comes out very slow, right? But this, which is normal for most wide attacks, but the normal one, and probably the rest of the normals, all kind of keep that far space. I guess unless you connect normal one, you're not going to have trouble, but typically it's going to come around from having trouble with normal one. And I think back attack as well, just with the tracking, some of it, this hitbox is very small, the side attack and back attack. So maybe if you can make it so this initiates a little closer, right? That way you're able to kind of follow up with those attacks. Of course, with a big weapon, I think it's going to be, a lot of these problems are going to be fixed. And I do think a lot of people run strike big. So maybe not a change you're looking for, but just want to let you guys know that was some feedback I had received as well. All right, we're going to go ahead and jump into Shinobi cards and assist codes. First, we're going to start with Life Drain. This is an underused card, and it's mainly because, well, it's because of its cost and also because of the effects. The effects actually don't work unless you have lower than full health, right? And the damage down and gum damage down only work for about 2 seconds. And so if you are comboing someone, you have them in a combo and you're going to get third partied, you're not going to actually benefit from these, right? So that's basically 22 cost wasted, right? Now I think some good changes for this are going to be, obviously, you could make it so when you are hitting someone in your full HP, you actually benefit from everything. Another thing is that you could buff these, both damage down and gum damage down, to actually last maybe 8 seconds, 6 seconds, 10 seconds. Anything is better than 2 seconds. 2 seconds is really a small amount, and you have to already not be full health. So it kind of hinders itself as well from that. The other buff is that if you are full health, you can still gain these, and you can take these buffs after absorbing it, and maybe, I guess, absorb life no matter what health you are at. And then the next one we're going to go ahead and get into is Energy Hoarder. Energy Hoarder is a really good card, but the problem actually lies with its value, its cost value. If I really want just Energy Hoarder alone, the cost alone is going to be 10. Is going to be 10 cost, whereas I could just easily equip Gum Guard Master for 8 and then add on this first assist code, and then I basically have Energy Hoarder and I have Gum Guard Master in one code for a cheaper cost, right? So I think the base value should be lowered down to about 8, maybe even 7, just because all of these assist codes are very expensive. They're good, but they are expensive. The first one, a little weaker on the healing side. And actually that brings me back to Life Drain. Life Drain also is kind of outclassed by every other healing option, just because everything else costs less, right? And you're going to be using those more, and you're not going to be able to use this as much just because of that threshold. You have to be at a lower threshold than your full health to actually take advantage of it. The next code, or the next assist card, or Shinobi card, is Ninja Sense Pro. Ninja Sense Pro really doesn't see a lot of use, mainly for trick balls and if you're playing with a trick ball. But even then, this code has kind of been indirectly nerfed because trick balls aren't hitting their Beyond the Gum as much. And then another problem is that the search distance and movement speed actually don't work together. Okay, if I want more movement speed, I think it should kind of work with it, right? Essentially, you equip a Shinobi card for the assist codes, right? And if I'm unable to equip all these assist codes together, or even just like pair these up, right? It's kind of poorly designed, just because I wouldn't want to run search distance and movement speed, right? So I'm kind of losing value in not picking both of them, or having that option to pick both of them. One way is that maybe if you do sense someone, you could buff the movement, so when you do sense someone, you move faster. That could be one thing, but then it's kind of similar to Hyena, and it might be a little, well, it offers different values, right? So it would still keep it a little different. Two-edge parry. This one I think is one of the worst cards in the game, mainly because you have to run every assist code for it to actually be good, right? If I'm reducing life of the foe and myself, right, I have to be running the second card. This one, shockwave damage, I could probably take off if I really wanted to, but I think if you're already running these two, you might as well run the last one just to hit those around you, trying to third party. I think another thing that could be good is the shockwave damage could actually become a bigger shockwave. That would make it more significant. As with this card, you're trying to prevent people from third partying or deter them, right? If they get hit by a big shockwave, right? If the shockwave is bigger, and they get hurt from it, they're less likely to actually third party you, which is kind of this code's or this Shinobi card's whole deal, right? Kind of prevent others from attacking you guys. Okay, last one we have is Discerning Eye. I think Discerning Eye doesn't see a lot of play as well. I've talked about this with friends, that instead of just increasing the detection range, maybe have it so you can actually see this little spawn timers of the drones, because everyone knows kind of where the drones are now, especially after playing for about a year now. People know where those drones are, right? But if you have something where, oh, I can see this drone timer, I don't need to actually go to that drone, this is going to enhance this code by a lot. It'll see a lot more play, I think, especially if you can see it across the map, right? If you get like a middle drone, you can see the enemy's drones as well. Movement speed, this is fine. I think this one is also fine as well. You can reveal the foe's position. I think those are both fine as well. All right. Lastly, I wanted to talk about the most overused Shinobi cards, just because they're very strong right now. And I'm not saying they need any nerfs, but I'm just going to kind of go over. These were both mainly used in the recent Two Saints skirmish, which was a community-hosted battle royale tournament, and through the anniversary, I think it's King of Team battle tournament as well. So after looking at those statistics, these were the most played cards, along with Hyena, stealing Hyena as well. So starting dash is very strong. It's very all-around card. It's good because it keeps you consistent. If you miss out on a drone, you're not too far behind. That's where the value really comes from in this. And it gives you also added movement, right? You get movement from having more S energy, and so that's really a key point, at least Gum Dash movement, from this and from having more S energy. So that's one of the big factors of this. Quick respawn, really strong card. I think its cost is very cheap. It's very cost effective, right? And for only 10, if I throw on this first card, I'm gonna be pretty much at 75% health at when cards are restricted or at level 5, right? So very cost effective. I think it's extremely powerful, extremely good, especially for the cost. I think personally, it could be balanced a little more just because it is so strong, right? In some matches, I'm only dying like 3 times per battle or even less, right? And so I only use this card maybe like twice, right? So I do think like if you need an extra slot, this is a very viable option, but it's also very cheap, which makes it that kind of go-to slot in, right? You're gonna see all these cards too. You're gonna notice all these cards are cheap cards, right? They're about 10 and less, right? For maybe 1 assist code, 2 assist codes. And that's what makes them very potent, right? You can kind of slot them in no matter what, right? You don't have to pick one over the other, right? Gumbu's Impact is a very good card as well. It's good for kind of pushing people off of you or having them not chase you as much, as sometimes this hits from behind. And then it also gives you another way to approach. And I think the recent nerf was really good. Nerf to it, adding more end lag after you hit someone's shield with your impact. And that was very needed. I think it was very oppressive, especially I guess like level 8 and beyond. It's really oppressive, but as it's restricted, I do think it's pretty well balanced at level 5, as are most cards. And then next we have Utsusemi Master. Utsusemi Master is still very strong, especially in unrestricted formats, like ranked teams. It's very strong, especially if you have it anywhere from level 10, like level 9 to 10. The size makes such a difference, right? So this is a very strong card, very potent. But as it's been played, as I've seen it in formats, it's pretty good. Not too oppressive, and I believe it's pretty balanced in a restricted format at level 5. And then lastly, we have Hyena. Stealing Hyena, just an overall good card. It's cheap. It's a good slot in. The gum damage is good. I think the recent nerf where it went from 75% health to 50% health was a really good nerf. It makes people work a little harder while still also being able to get that value if you know what you're doing, which is really significant. And I think that's where Gumbu's Impact is also headed, right? With that end lag kind of nerf as well. So overall, I think quick respawn, a little strong, just because you can kind of slot these 3 in without really much care for anything else, right? They're all very well-rounded cards. But I'm not saying that they're oppressive by any means. I just think these are, by the stats, these are the most used cards in the game. Thank you guys for your time. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Please take care, and I appreciate your development, your buffs and nerfs, everything you guys are doing. Keep up the great work. Bye-bye.